Alright everyone, welcome to an updated character overview / guide of Jing Yuan. He's on the second banner of 1.0. He's an incredibly flexible character. Even though he's built for AoE, he's actually usable in many different types of content, depending on single target bosses or just full fields of enemies. There's a little bit of drop off regarding how Lightning Lord's attacks do damage to the adjacents. He overcompensates by just doing so much damage anyways, that he's usable for both AoE and single target situations. So, Jing Yuan is an incredibly flexible 5-star erudition lightning type character, and we're going to go over his kit, how he works, relics, Lycones, Eidolons, and supports. Quick disclaimer before we start the video, because we're in the early lifespan of Honkai Star Rail, I have to just say that some options that I'm going to offer may be suboptimal in the future if you're watching this at a later date. But because of where many people are with their accounts, it may not make sense to, like, for example, farm for Relic Sets right now, just because it may be a waste of Trailblade's power. So especially in the Relic section, we'll be offering alternatives for now versus in the future when you're able to farm for Relics. I have to mention that this video is not about whether or not you should pull for him. Just keep in mind as you look at other YouTube videos that be wary of simulated universe showcases. Just be mindful that there is a difference between a fully whaled out unit, there's a difference between a showcased unit in the simulated universe, and an average free-to-play setup as well. So Jing, as you'll see in the video, Jing does have a lot of options for him, but just keep this in mind. This is not about whether or not you should pull for him, okay? That's completely up to you. But that's all, so let's talk about Jing Yuan. So with Jing Yuan as your main damage dealer on field, you're going to want to use his skill in every rotation to maximize his energy and his damage output. So Jing Yuan's kit revolves completely around his Lightning Lord ability. Both his skill and his ultimate are AoE attacks. The only difference is the damage multiplier. So Jing Yuan's skill will just do damage to all enemies on field and then add 2 stacks to Lightning Lord's counter, which we'll talk about in a second. And his ultimate is the same, just more damage and adds 3 stacks instead of 2. 2 stacks from skill, 3 stacks from ultimate. What do these stacks do? So Jing Yuan has Lightning Lord on field at all times passively. You don't have to do anything to summon him. Basically, as long as Jing isn't imprisoned or debuffed or knocked down, Lightning Lord is able to attack, but they have separate speeds. So Lightning Lord starts with 60 base speed and 3 base hits per action. Hits per action is just the name of Lightning Lord's counter, so from now on I'll just refer to stacks or counter. So you start with 3 stacks, and of course you add to these stacks by using his skill or ultimate, which is another reason why you want to be spamming his skill instead of alternating between basic and skill. You want to be using his skill every rotation to maximize the stacks towards talent, right? Not only will you be maximizing the stacks for Lightning Lord, but you'll be getting more energy towards ultimate, because his ultimate takes 130 energy, which is kind of high, but that kind of works for some of his Lycone options later. So back to Lightning Lord, you have 60 base speed, 3 stacks. Initially, Lightning Lord's turns work just like characters. It'll show up in the turn order, and then when it's Lightning Lord's turn, it'll consume all those stacks, and then for each of those stacks, it'll do 1 attack to the enemy randomly. Each of these attacks will attack that enemy, and then the 2 adjacents. So you see this big splash of damage on field. It'll attack everything. It'll be crazy. Additionally, for every stack added to Lightning Lord, their speed increases by 10, and then these values return to their base values after Lightning Lord's action ends. So in a nutshell, Jing Yuan wants to use his skill every rotation, ultimate when you can, to get these stacks towards Lightning Lord. Lightning Lord has a base speed, but his speed increases every time you add stacks to it. Once Lightning Lord's turn comes up, he attacks everything on field, and then returns to normal values. Jing Yuan's technique will just add 3 stacks to Lightning Lord's counter, so you'll start with 6 instead of 3 at the very beginning of the fight. Jing Yuan has some pretty good bonus traces and abilities. He gets attack, crit rate, and defense from his bonus traces a little bit extra. And then for his bonus abilities, Jing Yuan's first bonus ability, Lightning Lord's crit damage will increase by 25% when his counter is 6 or above. His second one just gives him a little bit extra energy at the beginning of the battle. And the last one will increase his crit rate a little bit after you use his skill. Alright, so let's talk about Jing Yuan's Lycones. So he's incredibly flexible. This is his signature before dawn. Seriousness of breakfast is his free-to-play option, and then today is another peaceful day is his battle pass option. First, let's take a look at his signature, of course. So Jing Yuan's signature before dawn will just increase his crit rate and crit damage, mainly for his skill and his ultimate, and then as well as increase his follow-up attack damage as well. This is kind of unnecessary, a little bit of bait. There are definitely options not as expensive as this, but if you want to go for his Lycone, go for it. Just know that you don't need his Lycone to make Jing usable. Battle Pass option is, of course, today's another peaceful day. So this one is really good because it increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy, and of course Jing has 130 energy, so it's anywhere from 26 to 52% damage increase, depending on your super imposition. Of course, as of now, at the very most, you'll only have 1 copy of this anyway, but so it's pretty steady damage increase from the Battle Pass cone. And of course, the free-to-play option, the Seriousness of Breakfast, will just increase the wearer's damage, and then for every defeated enemy, increase the attack as well. You also have some of the gacha light cones as well, like Genius's Repose, but this isn't as good. Wearer's attack, and then increase crit damage, but this is contingent on you defeating an enemy. So something like steady damage output from the Battle Pass cone or the free-to-play cone may be better for you, depending. There's also a case to be made for Herder's Cone, which is entirely follow-up damage related, which is fine because Lightning Lord is follow-up attack, which is what I was referring to earlier. And this will increase by 24% or up to 40% if you have Super Imposition level 5. So like I said, you have so many options for Jing Yuan's Light Cone if you're going for a signature, or if you have an undecided Battle Pass cone. If you want another one from the Battle Pass, you can always skip this, but this is pretty decent as well. And if you're skipping both these options, then you can always just go with your free-to-play option as well, because you can use this for other characters too. Luckily, he's very flexible with his options. So moving on to Relic Sets for Jing Yuan, there are a couple of options. Look at the databank, don't worry about these, this is just the damage reduction set and the quantum set. The main sets we're looking at are Musketeers and the Band of Sizzling Thunder. So the easiest would just be putting Musketeers on him, which will give you attack and then increase your speed a little bit, as well as your basic damage, which doesn't really matter because you'll be ignoring your basic probably with ideal rotation, so just be using your skill every rotation. And from Band of Sizzling Thunder, you'll be getting lightning damage, and then after you use your skill, increase the wearer's attack by 20% for one turn. So this is ideal because you'll be using your skill on every rotation. So after the first attack, you'll have increased attack pretty much the whole time. But as I mentioned earlier, you may not want to farm this set just yet, so you may want to just use Musketeer set until you're able to farm for relics in the future. Or you could mix and match two-piece attack. You'll get increased attack, and then you'll get increased lightning damage. It's up to you. Those are probably the best options: Band of Sizzling Thunder and Musketeer Wildly for now. Okay, so moving on to planar ornaments, we have a couple of options. This is probably the less ideal of the two, but you probably have a lot more of these. Early game is Space Healing Station. This will just increase his attack by 12%, and once you reach that 120 speed threshold, double that again, so you get 24% attack. How you reach this 120 speed depends on how you build him or what supports you use with Jing Yuan. So the other, probably more ideal option is Salcedo from World 6. So Salcedo will increase Jing's crit rate a little bit, and then after you reach 50% crit rate, it'll also increase damage of ultimate and follow-up attacks. And once again, of course, a follow-up attack referring to his Lightning Lord attacks. The second activation of planar ornaments usually are contingent on a speed value or a percentage of a stat. So of course it depends on what set you use. Obviously you don't need 120 speed for the set to work, but you still may want to build speed on him anyway, just to maximize his potential output. So Space Healing Station and Salcedo for now. I forgot to mention that it isn't super hard to reach this 50% crit rate threshold. You have 5% initially from every character. Every character has 5% crit rate at base. You get 8% from this. You can get up to 32.4% crit rate from a plus 15 5-star relic. And then you have crit rate in Jing's traces as well. So without any substats, you can pretty easily reach this 50% crit rate. Okay, so moving on to relic stats, what do you want to aim for? Most likely you want to be going for crit rate, and then as well, if you're using Salcedo planar ornament set, then you're really going to be wanting to check crit rate. But crit rate, crit damage, depending, probably mostly crit rate with crit damage substat. So for the boots, you want to aim for attack percent or speed, depending on your playstyle. Remember, Jing has a base speed of 99. You can always benefit from increased speed, as well as if you're using a planar ornament set that requires a 120 speed requirement. So either speed or attack. Just for reference, a maxed out plus 15 5-star speed boots piece is plus 25 speed for the main stat. So for Jing's Sphere, you want to aim for lightning damage boost, but I know that can be kind of hard to farm for since there's so many different types of elemental damage that you're rolling into when you farm for these. So as a placeholder, you can always go for attack percent until you get a lightning damage, but that is definitely your goal, is lightning damage boost. And lastly, for Jing's chain or rope, you want to aim for attack percent. Remember that there aren't that many main stats on the rope anyway, but attack percent is probably the most optimal. Alright, let's take a look at Jing Yuan's Eidolons now. I'd like to preface this by saying he's a beast of a unit without any of these. All of these are just completely extra over the top. He's a really flexible and powerful unit without them. His first one just increases the damage that Lightning Lord's attacks do to the adjacents. So if you recall, Lightning Lord's attacks, each tick will do damage to a random enemy and then its adjacents. So each attack is actually hitting 3 enemies. This increases the damage to the adjacents. So second increases Jing's damage for basic, skill, and ultimate by 20% for 2 turns, so everything after Lightning Lord takes action. 3, of course, is just trace levels, so +2 to ultimate, +1 to basic, as well as 5 is +2 to skill, +2 talent. Level 4, Jing will regen 2 energy for every Lightning Lord hit. And lastly, number 6, Lightning Lord will make the enemy vulnerable when they attack. While vulnerable, they take 12% more damage, and then it stacks up to 3 times. This resets at the end of the turn. Basically, what this will do is ramp up Lightning Lord's damage as it attacks. But of course, that's E6. That's whale territory. I mean, honestly, even E1 is whale territory, but I would say overall, really good Eidolons. Completely unnecessary, though. Okay, lastly, let's just talk about a couple of support characters that can go with Jing. We're not really focusing on like team comps because obviously that depends on the type of content that you're trying to clear. But for the most part, all the Harmony characters will go well with him. Starting with Tingyun, whom I don't have yet. She's a lightning type as well, which is always nice. So as you know, Tingyun can give energy to another character. So you can use Tingyun as sort of like a skill point flex, where you use her to either farm skill points or buff Jing with her skill. She is good in that regard where she can do either or. So Tingyun is great for giving energy to him and increasing his damage. Either damage through ultimate or increasing attack through her skill. Of course, the next option is Bronya. If you have her, where her skill will allow her to advance the action of the target. So you can use Jing's skill, advance with Bronya, and then attack with Jing's skill again, as well as her ultimate for increasing attack and crit damage too. And then lastly, Asta. Of course, she's really good at breaking fire weakness, but some cases where you need to increase speed. I mean, increasing speed is always good. Not very nuanced or anything. I mean, Asta really just using her for increased speed for 2 turns, but she is another option there. So in general, all the Harmony characters will play really well off Jing, either increasing his attack, giving him energy, advancing action, increasing crit rate, crit damage, stuff like that, or speed in Asta's case. I'm focusing mainly on Harmony characters because Jing is so flexible, because he's applicable in so many different types of ways that he can fit in a lot of teams, depending on, of course, what type of content you're attacking. Alright, so in conclusion, Jing is an incredibly strong and flexible character. You can build him a couple different ways. He has support options as well, depending on how you want to use him, what kind of content you're attacking. I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I'm not actually pulling for him. I'm skipping him because I'm broke. I'm saving for Silverwolf. Let me know if you guys are pulling for him. And if you are, good luck with your pulls if you haven't done them yet. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer it as best I can. As always, if this video helped, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I'm not even pulling for him, man. What am I doing?